Hi everyone, it's Chelsea from Paper Rock TO Studio, and today I have another Love Winter Art. That's the Creative Arts Collaboration event for November, and I'm also combining it with the prompt Monn Stars from hashtag November Daily Art Journal. Man, it's hard to remember all to say this stuff. So this is going to be a really quick video. I am just going to do a watercolor, a very simple watercolor scene of a night sky with moon and stars and some snow in the foreground. Now, I'm not a professional watercolorist. I barely know how to do this, but I'm going to give it a try. I said yesterday that I was going to work more on watercoloring, and so this is about the simplest thing I could think of. So this is a half a sheet of 140-pound watercolor paper that I've taped down to my craft mat so that it won't buckle, even though it still tries to. It buckles up a little bit, but I hear that you can spray the back of the paper and then tape it down, and it won't do that as much. I haven't really found that that's particularly been effective in my case, but then I just drew a very simple scene, a few little trees in the foreground, one that's a little bit further back, and then the snow is in the front and the trees will be snowy, and then I drew a little shape of a crescent moon. Then I got the whole sky portion wet, trying to avoid the trees and the moon with water. I'm trying to keep those dry and everything else being wet so that I can put in some different colors of blue. These are my Kuretake Gamzee Tambai watercolors. I got these on Amazon, and I like them. They have good pigment, and they can be almost opaque, like I don't know. They seem more like an acrylic type of a situation to me than my other watercolors, but I do have another set that's a koi watercolor, which are very nice too. I will link everything that I used below so that you can look at them online and find out what I'm talking about. I also have a very thirsty brush that I'm using. The one I used to lay in the wash isn't. It's just a plain brush, but then this one that I'm using is one I got at the Blick store, and it was fairly expensive, and it holds a whole bunch of water up inside of it. It's thirsty, so it makes watercoloring much easier. So I started out with kind of a medium blue, and then I put some dark navy blue around the edges and around the horizon line. And then now I'm putting in some violet, just trying to give some variation to the sky. It wouldn't be all one color, it would be multiple colors. And then this is kind of a greenish blue. I know there's a name for it, but I can't think of it. And then this is sea salt. And what salt does when you put it on wet watercolor is it sucks up the pigment and then kind of leaves you with like kind of almost white spots, lighter spots and darker spots. When it's all dry, I'll brush it off, but it's going to take it a while to dry. So I'm pretty happy with my sky. I think it looks, you know, pretty cool. There's no stars yet. I didn't want to try to make a bunch of dots that I needed to paint around and avoid the water into them. Do you know what I'm talking about? It was just too complicated, so I'm going to splatter it afterwards to make the stars, because I think that'll be a lot easier than trying to avoid all these little spots on the background. So then for the snow, I know I've talked about this before. White isn't white. It's a variation of shadow and light. So I used some very pale blue to start with to try to make some shadows so that you can see where the snow is in different bumps or whatever. And then I put some yellow in to be the moonshine, not the kind you drink, like the moon is shining on the breast of the new fallen snow. So it would be like a little bit yellowy, I think. Although the sun's more yellow than the moon. But anyway, you get my concept of what I was trying. And then now I'm adding in a little bit darker blue in a few areas just to make it look more bumpy on the snow. Then I'm going to work on my trees. My hardest thing for me to do when I'm watercoloring is leave white space. Or when I'm doing anything. It doesn't matter if it's a mixed media or whatever. I have a terrible time leaving anything white. But I want to in this case because I want these trees to appear to be laden with snow on their branches. So what I'm doing is trying different colors, a dark blue and a dark green to start out with, and I do end up adding black to think about the underside of the branches. Where would the underside of the branches be? And then trying to trace those out with the color just by dabbing the color on and then leaving the top part of the branches white. You would be amazed at how hard this is for me. I don't like to leave white space. I don't like it. But it's what's needed in this case. So these are my two foreground trees, and they're going to be the darkest. And then this one that's the tiny one that's supposedly further away in the field, it's going to be lighter, so that it appears to be in the distance. So then again, snow is white, but white isn't white. So I'm adding just a touch of that light blue in on the under bits of the snow to make them look more shaded. Hoping that that works. Watercolor is really very fun, but it's very different from acrylic painting, which is, you know, I do mixed media, but I use a lot of acrylic, and so this is a different animal completely. It's all about how it reacts to water, how it reacts to the paper that you put it on. It needs to be an absorbent paper with no coating. So I use this same watercolor paper a lot for mixed media, but it's really designed to do this. So now I'm going in with black and like just dabbing in black in certain areas to try to darken them up even more where the branch underneath would be to get a really dark shadow. It's pretty fun. I'm enjoying it. I know there's lots and lots of things you can do with watercolor. I just haven't learned it really yet. So then I'm using the same color on this tree that's further away, the dark green, but I'm doing it with a lot more water. The more water you put with the paint, the lighter it is. And then the opposite is true as well. So that's how you can vary how light or dark a color is without mixing it. You can also mix your watercolors as much as anything else. So that's a possibility too. If you want to create an entirely unique color, you can just mix them together on your craft mat or on a piece of deli paper or your palette or whatever. But I'm satisfied with these colors that are in this set. I don't think I need anything else for this simple of a little project. Okay, so I think I'm pretty happy with my scene at this point, so I'm going to dry it pretty soon. I guess I added a little bit of yellow to the moon, just a touch, very watery. And yeah, I'm going to cheat and I'm going to dry it with a heat tool. I have no patience. Who are we kidding? I have absolutely no patience. So then this is where I decided to splatter it with some golden high flow acrylic in titanium white. This is an opaque white, and it's very fluid because it's been mixed with some type of a airbrush medium or something, so you don't have to dilute it or anything. And I'm just using a very small, very fine brush to do my splattering. The areas where the salt is all dry now, and it's really sucked up the pigment, and it kind of looks to me like clouds. So I end up splattering the whole scene, not just the sky, because I decided it could also be snow falling down, you know, because it's winter. It could either be the moon and stars or it could be a snowy scene, either way. So then when I take off my tape, I have a nice white border. I end up tearing a little bit of the top off on that corner, and I have to glue it back down. But it turned out okay. So if you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, comment, share. Be sure to search #LoveWinterArt to find out all the other stuff that people have made on YouTube. And if you're interested in the Art Journaling Challenge, go and search for #November Daily Art Journal. That's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.